I'm going to start off with a story that you all know. I think you better know, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So imagine it's 1972, it's the space age, and man has just landed on the moon, and Apollo 17 is launched into space, and it comes back with a great souvenir, a meaningful souvenir. It's this picture of the Earth taken by a human being when the Earth is fully illuminated, and you can see the continents with hardly any clouds. And it was very exciting, and as soon as the spaceship landed, this photo was circulated. It's arguably one of the most circulated photos in the world, and published in all the front pages in every news channel, with one minor adjustment. It was turned over. Because the original photo was taken when Antarctica was on the top and the North Pole was in the north. But before it was published, it was rotated to make it seem correct. And I'm going to talk to you today about why. Why do we feel that this photo is not correct? So this is me. I'm a ISVIS designer and professor, and the curator of the exhibition Orientation, which displayed a lot of maps. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, basically, and this relates to everything you have heard already, is that all maps are basically wrong. So, yeah. So this was a cool video that I'm going to talk about when it's not working. But, fuck. Okay, so just forget about it, yeah. So the Earth, let's begin with this. The Earth is a sphere, it's a ball. And if we want to open it up so it will be a map, we have to kind of stretch it and squish it and cut it in several places, and it never ever wind up to be accurate, not to the size of the continents and not to the seas. So this action of taking a sphere and turning it into a 2D map is called a projection. There's thousands of projections, and each projection is good for one thing, but totally distorts another element of the mapping. So every map that we see is distorted. But we don't care about that because we all have maps in our computers and in our phones, and we know where to go. So do you know who created this map? Okay, it's not Google. This is Google Map, but it's based on the projection, the most common projection that we all are envisioning the world through, and that's the Mercator projection. And I've marked Mercator with this pink circle there because he's going to come back. So each time you see him, you see this, you can shout out Mercator, okay? So the Mercator projection basically was made by Mercator, who was a cartographer, and it was made in the 1569s made for people to travel at sea. And why it was so good to travel at sea? Because it kept the angles of the longitude and the latitudes. Said that right? Of the sphere, and then it was easy to sail the ships. Furthermore, when you zoom into the Mercator projection, you get a really accurate picture of the angles between roads and streets. And that's why Google is using the Mercator projection. So this is what we most perceive the world, this shape. Problem with the Mercator projection is that the distortion that it has makes all the countries that are on top and at the bottom, like near the poles, very, very big. And all the countries that are in the middle, especially Africa, really, really small. So we don't really know the true size of Africa. No one knows. We feel that Europe is bigger. And this perpetuates social biases because we kind of still believe that the world is dominated by whoever is in the north. So I truly recommend coming into this true size, and you can drag true size off. You can drag countries up and down the map to see what's their true size. Okay, but mapping the world, I'm going to go back in time a little bit because mapping the world is not a new thing. And this is a map from the Middle Ages. It's called an orbis terrarium. It's a name to present maps that are circle because they believe that the Earth is flat. And orbis terrarum means a land within a circle. And basically, most of those maps were facing east because east is very easy to recognize. This is where the sun rises. So you see Adam and Eve there. That's the east, that's paradise. And this little chunk is Europe, and this is Africa. And Jerusalem is in the middle. That's how the Judeo-Christian believe the location of Jerusalem is. But this is another orbis terrarium. This was made by Muhammad el-Adrisi. He's a Moroccan cartographer. It was made for a Christian king, but you can clearly see that the religion of the cartographer is Muslim because this map is facing south. You see the Arab Peninsula and Mecca. You know, the Muslims, they pray to the south. So if Muslims were facing their maps to the south and Jew and Christian were facing their maps to the east, why did we wind up facing ours to the north? Well, this has to do with this cartographer who's called Ptolemy, this is a reproduction of the original map where you can't see it clearly, so I put this one. He made this map and encrypted it. It's facing north. We don't know why, but it was so good, it was so popular that people copied it all through, I think, like 400 years. And when it came the time to explore the seas and find new lands, they used this map to make the big maps, the Mercator map, to travel the seas. And it also helped that the Europeans used to navigate the seas with Polaris, the northern star. And then this kept going because Europe wanted to assert their dominance, and that's why we're all looking to the north. But people have tried, or like designers and cartographers have tried to suggest an alternative. I think the famous one is this. It's called the Dymaxion. It's the map by Buckminster Fuller. He's an architect and philosopher, American, and he transformed the Earth into this polygon made out of 20 rectangles, and then flattening them out. And he said that the power of this projection is it lacks social biases because there's no north and south. It's placing very vertically. And another one, which is humorous, it's the Mercative corrective map of the world. This is made by an Australian who said he was tired of his Americans and British friends saying that he lived in the land down under. So he made like a simple flip to the map, but he added this gradient of color, which clearly shows Australia as very dominant and bright in the middle. And he also wrote, like in the small print, "Viva Australia, the rulers of the world," or something like that. So another country who wanted to be in the middle was the United States. And then in the 19th century, United States became this rising power of economic and financial, and they also wanted to be in the middle of the map because that's where you ought to be. And this atlas, along with a lot of others that were published in that time, placed the United States in the middle, which made them kind of butcher the Asia and kind of push it a little bit and maybe cut a little bit of Nepal just so it can be in the middle. The irony of it was that when you fold the atlas, all the Midwest kind of disappears within the fold. Because East and West are relative, so for someone who lives in the East is just here. So, like, this is just few maps that I saw when I traveled. The one is from Vietnam, is from the post office in Vietnam, where you can see that Asia in the middle, and the right one is in a kindergarten in Japan. Maps in kindergartens, mushon. In school. So where you place yourself, if it's in the middle or the side, is only one of the manipulations that maps are susceptible to in history. And I think one of the biggest manipulations is boundaries, borders of countries, political borders. So, back to Google Map. We don't have that problem with manipulation. This is a private company. Google is not operated by any government, so all the borders should be unified and objective, right? We all know that's not true. And also an example that many of you might know. For example, there's a few of these around the globe. So if you surf Google from India, Google India, you would see this area, green area, that's called the Arunachal Pradesh, is clearly within the boundaries of India. But if you surf from China, you would see the same area within the boundaries of China, named South Tibet. Coming from Israel, and basically from everywhere else in the world, you would see the boundaries kind of dotted, and which means that they're under dispute. So, we're talking a lot about algorithm and digital and social media, and basically, like today, mapping is interacting with your computer, because whenever you do something, this goes up to the satellites or the 3 satellites, and it triangulates you, and then it knows where you are. And this is the map of the world with all the black dots are geotagged. This is where someone had tagged himself. So I don't know if you see, oh yeah, it's a good projection. The oceans are very scattered, but the continents are completely full, except I guess some of the rainforests in the Amazon and the Sahara Desert. But basically, we have geotagged our entire world. And when we geotagged our entire world, we actually became mappers, and mapping became collaborating with other people, with other users and other people surfing. So I'm going to give you this example of, this is the hood, it's called the hood map. It's a map based on crowdsourcing that you can enter any kind of information about the vibe in a city that you come into. So imagine this. This is a Mercator projection. Okay, so it's biased and it's distorted. And then on top of it, it's Google. And Google is not without agenda. And then on top of that, we have the crowdsourcing, which is amazing, basically, because people can, just like millions of people, can put in their input. And the creator of this map said that you can go to any city in the world and walk around like a local. And that's amazing. I mean, you know where you go. And that totally redefines the purpose of a tourist map, right? But then again, we have another big bias here, because each city has different communities, and the participation rate of rating the city is different. Also, what for someone is rich, for another one is a hipster, and any community is very susceptible to trends, and there's no quality control, and there's no statistic control, so you don't really know what you're getting. So we think that we are very, very, very clear today that we have all those technology and everything is measured and information is clearly monitored, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But basically, we have to ask ourselves something. Oh, it's not what I wanted to show. We need to ask ourselves something, coming back to the map that of the country we live in, and kind of think, who created that map? Why they chose to show what they're showing or not show what they're not showing, and kind of think about who wanted to say what when mapping this map. I changed it in the train, but it didn't come through, but there was like 2 maps. One is like Israel map from school, and it's very, very like the whole silhouette of what you see here. And the other one is the Israel map from the Palestinian point of view, and then it has no occupied territories, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank and Gaza. So really, who is mapping and what is aimed for really is a live issue for us here. So thank you very much.